Hello again, welcome to Business Live. We're celebrating 25 years of joy. Good evening and welcome. Coming up, government to grant embassies special permission to enable them airlift their citizens from the Kotoka International Airport. Also coming up, prices of LPG expected to go up from next week when the first pricing window of May opens. And non-performing loans declined significantly to hit a little over 6 billion cedis ending February this year. These are headlines this evening we're working with. I'll be bringing you the details of all these plus more in the next 30 minutes. Don't go away. Thank you very much for making a date today with me on Business Live. Now, some banks across the country have issued notices to their customers to wear nose masks before accessing services in the banking halls. A check on some banks within the capital reveals strict enforcement, and in some cases, they provide masks for customers who don't have them. That's more in this report.
As the country's number of COVID-19 cases keeps surging, the president really admonished. He advised that the public should do well to put on nose masks. Amidst the lockdown lifted, what is the public doing and what is the business community also doing to adjust to this directive to keep all of us safe from this deadly coronavirus? I have come to the CBG Bank headquarters where a number of people are entering, and there is a notice right at the entrance indicating that no mask, no entry. Let me admit, I am actually suffocating in this mask already. I don't know how long a number of people can put it on throughout the day. Come with me.
As part of the RegSec directive for all business centers to ensure that customers visiting their premises should put on masks, the banks, as a policy bank, we immediately put in place that directive and ensure that all our premises have been have the posts, no marks, no entry across all our branches. Having said that, if customers walk in without the marks have provided additional marks at the entrance for customers who do not readily have the marks available, and we give it to them just to make sure that they are not turned away from doing business with us. As you can see, if you go to the banking hall, all our staffs are in the marks just to make sure that we prevent the spread of the COVID-19.
Is this an additional cost to the customer? Is he going to pay for it or is it going to be free?
It's free. Customers are not paying for the additional marks.
What other measures are you putting in place? Okay,
so we've put in place the Veronica market and sanitizers and then soap, just to make sure that before you enter the banking halls, you wash your hands, sanitize your hands before you enter the banking hall. And also at our ATMs, we put the hand sanitizers. We've put in place hand sanitizers all over the ATMs to make sure that customers who use the ATMs apply the sanitizers before they leave the ATM.
Here in the banking hall itself, social distancing protocol is being enforced with these markings on the floor. So I am standing in one of the square, and the gentleman also being served is in one of the squares. So this is the distance between me and a customer who is currently being served here in the banking hall.
The day that I arrived here, they asked me to go and wash my hand at where the Veronica market is. And also the security man just approached me and gave me a nose mask.
We are doing disinfection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we are spraying the surface with alcohol-based surface disinfectants to minimize the spread of the virus.
They allowed us into their space, and we've seen for ourselves what it is that they are doing at CBG. I am Fred Duho reporting for Joy Business.
Let's stay within the banking space because loans that banks fear would not be paid back on time continue to decline. The latest Bank of Ghana data suggests it went down significantly to reach 6.33 billion Ghana cedis ending February this year. There's more in this Business Desk report.
According to the Bank of Ghana's report, the decline was as a result of some loan write-offs and improved collection from the commercial banks. The report notes that more than 97% of the loan was taken by the private sector, with the government accounting for the remaining. In terms of sectoral breakdown, the services sector led with the highest, followed by commerce, finance, and manufacturing. The central bank recently announced it is working with the judiciary to help fast-track credit cases in the court to help improve recoveries. The nominal figure might be on the high side. The Bank of Ghana argues that compared to industry ratios, the reduction might be significant. The development also expected to impact positively on credit extension by commercial banks in the coming months. This is despite the warning by the central bank that the COVID-19 may affect the ability of banks to lend to businesses. In terms of how other sectors performed, by the end of February, total assets went up by 17.8% to reach 128 billion cedis. This was fueled by significant growth in the loan advances and credits to businesses. Deposits, on the other hand, went up by almost 16% to hit 83 billion cedis compared to the same period last year, which the Bank of Ghana says it's an indication of sustained confidence in the banking sector. More than 90% of these deposits mobilized locally, with the remaining 4% from outside sources. The Bank of Ghana has also maintained that it remained committed and on standby to ensure that on the regulatory side, it takes adequate measures to minimize the effects of the coronavirus on the economy.
Let's turn to aviation now. Government has embarked on a disinfection exercise at the Kotoka International Airport and other regional airports in the country to pave way for domestic flights to commence operations after they were suspended in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. However, following the lifting of the partial lockdown by the president, domestic flights are expected to resume. Minister for Aviation Joseph Kofi Adda tells Joy Business the exercise is crucial to help control the spread of the virus. Here's more in this report.
So behind me you can see workers from Zoom Lion with 10 members in each of the groups. Now these groups are expected to go out there disinfecting every corner of the airport. That is the car park, the streets, the tarmac, the taxiway, the various terminals and offices here to ensure that the place is safe and clean for passenger activity. And according to the head of Vector Services for Zoom Lion, this particular initiative or this particular activity is going to take 8 hours to complete.
In all, we have 14 groups. The first group, 4 groups, will be moving to Terminal 3. We'll be doing Terminal 3. There will be another group that will be doing Terminal 2. There will be another group that will be doing Terminal 1. Then we'll have another group also who will be doing the civil aviation buildings, all the other buildings around. We are also going to deploy people who are going to do the environment. When I talk about the environment with regard to airport, where the commercial activities are also taking place, we have MO&B engineering, we have the clinic, we have the project site, and all the surroundings. Another group is also going to take the work over there. We are going to do the tarmac as work, and where the airport also, where the airlines also park. We are also going to work there.
So the disinfection exercise is taking off here at the Kotoka International Airport. But we are learning from the Minister for Aviation, Honorable Joseph Kofi Adda, that besides the Accra Kotoka International Airport, similar disinfection is being carried across all the other regional airports. That's to say, Takoradi, Kumasi, Tamale, and the Wa airports, all to ensure passenger safety.
Today, we are here to fumigate the airport, disinfect it in all ways that possible. The airspace, the walls, the floor, the counters, and everything that needs to be touched or that will be touched by the operators and by the passengers. That's going to be done today. All the 3 terminals, including all the other supporting facilities, such as the Civil Aviation Authority terminal buildings and the Air Traffic Control Tower. We're also going to go to the cargo area and all the other areas that need to be worked on. That will be handled today, and if there's a need, we'll continue tomorrow. After that is done, the airport company, supported by the port health officials, or rather led by the port health officials, would make sure that all the things that need to be installed to support the implementation of the protocols will be taking place here. We're particularly doing this because we want to start the domestic flights first. As we speak, it's happening in Kumasi and in Tamale, and they're going to move on to Wa and Takrady very soon. The provision has been made for them to make sure that all the gadgets, all the commodities that are required will be in place when we commence flying again.
So you can see the trucks disinfecting the airside and the tarmac where the aircraft park. Now all these are part of government's efforts to help check and contain the spread of the coronavirus, that is in their fight against the spread of the pandemic. This is to ensure that safety at the Kotoka International Airport is maintained even as our domestic airlines once again kickstart operations. Beyond the disinfection, other measures such as the mandatory use of the face mask, the mandatory use of hand sanitizers, and the mandatory check of the temperatures of passengers and screening of passengers before you board is all in place to help us check the spread of the coronavirus even as we kickstart with our domestic airline operations. Reporting for Joy Business from the Kotoka International Airport, my name is Sheila Tamaklo.
Meanwhile, the Sector Minister Joseph Kofi Adda has also revealed special permission will be given to embassies and other diplomatic missions in the country to help undertake evacuation of their citizens out of the country.
You all know that we closed down the flights. We're not flying out of the airport anymore, except for special flights that were evacuating passengers from different countries and a special permission from the presidency. We also had an ongoing exercise for the cargo to continue operating because there was a need to bring in essential cargo to support us in our fight against the pandemic. Save that, we were not really flying and the airport was virtually closed. But it is possible that permission will be granted to foreign embassies who want to evacuate their personnel as we've been doing. As and when they get the permission and bring their personnel here, the airport company will do what they normally do to ensure that the right thing is done to get them out of the country.
So live on Business Live, let's turn attention to some developments within the petroleum sector. Prices of petroleum products are expected to witness a significant reduction from next week. Projections by Joy Business based on industry data and indicates that prices will drop between the margin of 4 and 6%. Let's touch base with the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana and find out if the expected drop in prices is proportionate to the level of crude price decline on the international market. We're joined by the Executive Secretary of the Chamber, Duncan Amoah. Good evening, Duncan. Welcome to Business Live. Hello, good evening, Duncan. All right, so it looks like we have not yet connected to Duncan. Duncan, good evening. Welcome to Business Live.
Emmanuel, this is Gabi. I'm on the line. I don't know if Duncan is on the other line.
Let's now talk to Gabi. Gabi Kumi is the LPG Marketers Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association. Because we also hear that LPG prices will go up or will witness a rise next week when the window of May opens. Now, Gabriel, tell us, somewhere last week or a couple of weeks ago, you assured us when the removal or when the LPG cylinder recovery margin was removed that the prices will definitely go down. Now we are expecting prices to increase according to the latest outlook. Why is it so?
Thank you very much, Ima, and good evening to your viewers. Yes, as it indicates, at the previous window, at this window actually, that's the window of 16th to 30th of April, there was a decrease in price, i.e. the cylinder recovery levy that NPA introduced on the 1st of April was subsequently removed, so there was a decrease in price. But demand for LPG globally has shut up. You know, most countries are on lockdown, and even though crude oil prices have gone down very significantly, LPG is not following suit because LPG to the European countries and the Americas, they use a lot of LPG. I mean, it's about 90% of domestic cooking is done by LPG, with LPG. So now that we are in lockdown, you expect people to be at home. You expect people to use a lot of LPG. You expect people to use LPG to cook. And that has shut up the demand, the global demand for the product. Hence, the expected increase in the price of LPG in the next window. This is in sharp contrast to the demand, to the price of diesel and petrol. You know, there's as I said again, there's lockdown, so there's no movement of vehicles, factories are no working. So demand for diesel and for petrol as compared to LPG has gone down.
Yeah, but Gabi, I
drive down the price of diesel and petrol in the next window.
Right, so Gabi, I thought we also were a significant producer of gas, natural gas, of course, out of which we get LPG. So why should, a sudden increase in demand gives us a problem?
Yes, the demand for LPG is basically a result of high demand for domestic consumption. LPG is, we don't use too much of LPG, but when you go to Europe and the Americas, where we import most of this product from, the price of LPG is shooting up because there's a higher demand for the product as compared to the other petroleum products.
All right, thank you very much. Gabriel Kumi is the Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association. We also have online Duncan Amwa. He's Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Consumers, Petroleum Consumers Ghana, COPEC. Duncan, welcome to Business Live. Hello, Duncan.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, Duncan. Now, why? I mean, are you surprised that this current reduction in fuel prices that we expect, is it proportionate to the current situation on the world market, where we have a significant drop in crude, in prices of Brent crude, as well as some favorable aspects of the CD as against the dollar here in Ghana?
Let me say good evening to you and to your viewers. It would have been our expectation that we would get fuel prices go down a little bit more than we have seen over the past 6 to 8 weeks. Fortunately for Ghanaians, however, the CD also seemed to be doing a bit well now, although midweek last week there were some steep reductions or steep, whatever you call it, decreases in value as far as the CD's trading to the dollar is concerned. But it's getting quite stable now. And so we would have expected a little more reductions, some 1%, 2%, 3% reduction further to bring prices to around $3.90, $3.85 per liter. But you would also talk to the importers, you talk to the oil marketing companies, and you get the understanding that demand has actually fallen so drastically due to the few lockdowns that we had, due to the fact that the economic activity has hardly picked up the way it was prior to the lockdown because of COVID-19. And so it's a mixed bag. They seem to be running a lot of costs at this point because if you are looking at demand almost down by some 30% as we speak, if you check their volumes last week, you get the understanding that a lot of them who were probably even doing 1 million in some stations today can hardly survive 600,000. What that means is that their own overhead, the fixed cost portions are going to eat them up. And so it becomes quite difficult to expect that they would go into their margins at this point and compete, which should have been the case if times were normal and then demand was at the sort of peak that it would have been. So as we speak, it's a mixed bag. If they go down, of course, we would be happy. The trotro drivers and everybody we know would be excited. But then again, you are also sometimes mindful of the fact that they are getting a certain squeeze. And then you do not want to unnecessarily heighten public expectation that it should go down necessarily. And if they don't, then it means that they are cheating the public. So it is possible. It might go down 1-2%. But if anybody says we are going to do 5% further reduction, I will struggle to see how that will be accommodated given the fall in demand at the local pumps currently.
I mean, moving forward in the month of June, for instance, should we expect a massive drop in prices of crude oil, especially when the benchmarks, the WTI, continues to fall and the Brent crude also continues to fall below the $20 per barrel mark?
We need to psych ourselves. You know, Corona is still ravaging across Europe. The United States is still having its own challenges. China is rebounding from the issues they had with Corona. And so once they who made up the #1 consumer would get their economy back to working, it would mean only one thing, that global demand is likely to surge from the month of May. What that would also mean is that if demand should move from the 70-75 million it is today to about 80-85 million, it could only have one effect on pricing. It would go up. And so it is down now. And if you recall last week when we spoke, we were insisting that government make up a deliberate plan to stock up both with finished products.
Okay.
Make up a deliberate plan to revamp the thermal oil refinery and stock up crude oil, because eventually prices which today are hovering around 19 and 21, 22 for Brent, you do not expect that they will continue to stay. They may go back to the 30s region. That is for crude.
Okay.
Now, Platt, that has also dropped to the 100. You do not expect that they will stay there forever. Prior to where we are now, finished products were doing about $500, $600 per metric. They dropped to about 180, 190. Right. It doesn't look guaranteed to stay there forever. So we need, as a country, to plan at this point. If hedging would go for us, let's go for it at this point, because the month of May may not exactly be for all lower prices. Now that some countries are also removing the lockdown restrictions, and activities or economic activities are likely to get back to normal for some of them.
Many thanks for your perspectives there, Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, Duncan Amoah. You're still watching Business Live. We're taking a short break here. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Now, residents within the Aflao in the Ketu South District of the country say the current border closure has exposed them to harsh economic conditions, making life unbearable for them amidst the coronavirus pandemic. Mostly petty traders, the residents along the border towns say they can no longer cross the border to Togo to do business. In a statement released by some concerned residents, they called on government to provide food to various households. President Akufo-Addo recently extended the border closure by extra 2 weeks to mitigate the spread of the virus. My colleague Fred Du, who recently visited the area, he throws more light as he joins me in the studio. All right, so what exactly is the situation?
The current situation at the border is quite dire. It's a situation where the residents are really in need of some sort of help in terms of food and other basic amenities. A number of them whom I spoke with on my earlier visits expressed some sort of sadness, some sort of like they want some sort of intervention immediately from exactly the government. That is what they are stating, yes.
Okay, so what, just food, right? Food supply?
They want food supply. You see, they are closer to Togo, and which is the Lomé is the capital of Togo, and it's more of the business hub closer to the border, and that is where residents from Aflau go on daily basis to do their business. So they go across this border on daily basis to go buy some products, bring it to Ghana, sell it, add some margins, and get some little token. That is what they use to cater for themselves. But as we speak, because of the border closure, it looks more like a lockdown. The whole border town is in dire need of help. And one of their request is the diamond cement and some companies that are along the border town should come to their aid so that they give them some needed support.
Thank you very much, Fred, for that update. And on that note, we draw the curtains down on Business Live this evening. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Emmanuel Aboagye-Wiafe. Have a good evening.